Welcome, fellow bookworms, to TBR's Den. My name is Whitney, and it's time for another Monday Musings. So I don't have a lot of books to talk about for this past week. It was actually kind of a pretty chill week for me. I wasn't feeling the best, and so it was just kind of a blah week. There was one day that I just didn't feel like reading at all. So I actually ended up, my brother-in-law and his girl got me this for Christmas, and I hadn't had a chance to do it yet. And so it was like a little knitting kit, and I knitted this box, which I think turned out really cute. It definitely took a bit to get back in. I haven't knitted for years, so it definitely took a bit to kind of get back into it, but I think he turned out pretty cute. So I have this little fox, and I just did that one day because I was just really not feeling life. And so that was a nice little activity. And then I did read 2 books, and I started a third. But I'm pretty pleased with what I read this week. It is going to be a little bit longer of a video though, because Readathon is happening this month, which is put on by Deja at Deja's Book World and Noelle at Noelle Sunday. Their channels will be linked down below along with the announcement videos, so you can check those out if you're interested. But I wasn't going to participate in anything. I've decided I didn't take readathons really seriously. So it kind of tends to add a little bit of extra stress. And so I've just been doing Aurelium more recently and not any other readathons. But, this has been, everybody's talking about it. And it wasn't until I was watching Bo at Bo's Books that I was like, okay, I want to join. She's co-hosting Team Swords with Christine and Mo from the Roomies Digest and Alexis at Alexis Fully Booked, which are all channels I absolutely love watching and really enjoy. And so I was like, okay, I gotta go with Team Swords. I did order a couple bookmarks, but I'm obviously a little bit late to the game, and so they're not here yet. But they'll be here probably the end of this week, beginning of next week. So I'll have those to use for my reads and such. But yeah, I just decided last minute to join that. So I will be talking about those books. We did have the live show for Kim from Expedition Through Pages, the TBR Trek game, yesterday, and so we have our prompts for that I'll be talking about. So if you don't want spoilers for that, go watch the live show and then you can come back. But I'm excited. We thought maybe the game was gonna end this past round, but things took a turn and it did not end. So I'm excited for the books I have for that as well. So we're going to talk about all that. So it will be a little bit of a longer video, but let's go ahead and start with the books I did read this past week. So first up, of course, we had Agnes Aubert's Mystical Cat Shelter by Heather Fawcett. This is the author of the Emily Wilde series, which I absolutely loved. I enjoyed this one. I did give it a 4 stars. It had the same tone as far as the narration goes that Emily Wilde did. Like, she's really kind of talking to you and kind of that slower pace, but very, very different vibes and setup and such. So we're following Agnes, and she's in her she's like 32-ish, so early 30s. And this is more magical realism than fantasy, I would say. It takes place in 1920s Montreal, and there's magicians in this world, which some people don't really like. And there's kind of like this prejudice against them and such. And there's kind of this mystery about them as well. And there's one magician in particular who was thought to almost bring about the apocalypse. And he's supposed to be very powerful and such, and that's Havelock Renard. And so basically, there's a duel outside her cat shelter, blows a hole in the wall, and so she needs to find a new place to house these cats. But most people don't understand what she's doing. And the moment they hear cats, nope, nope, nope. She ends up in this better part of the city, a little bit more of a well-to-do area, and ends up renting that space. And it turns out that it has ties to Havelock, and they end up having to team up to try to find this artifact and stop this other magician. So it is very fun. The thing that dropped it down for me was there's supposed to be this romance between Havelock and Agnes, and I just really didn't feel that chemistry between the characters. And the author didn't really do anything with the romance. There's like a couple of moments, and I just didn't feel the chemistry. And I think it would have been better if they had just been friends, like if they had just developed that friendship, because Agnes kind of distrusts the magicians and such. So that's what dropped it down for me. But it was my vibes. I used to work in a shelter, and the veterinary clinic I used to work at ran the local shelter, and the one where I live now, when I worked there, they worked closely with the shelter. And so I'm very familiar with the shelter works, the ups and downs and such. So I honestly was a little triggered by that a little bit, but at the same time, like I enjoyed what the author did with it. And there's also this grief element because Agnes has lost her husband like 3 years prior. So there's a little bit of a grief element there too, or 2 years, something like that. And so yeah, I had a good time. I don't think this is for everybody because it is slower paced and such, but I really enjoyed it. It had good vibes. It would be better to read in winter, not summer, but I did really enjoy it. Then my husband and I read the eighth Dungeon Crawler Caro book, which is A Parade of Horribles by Matt Dinniman. This is the most recent release, and so the series is up to date now for us. And this one, definitely not as intense as some of the others, but a lot does happen, and I think it's an important point for the series as a whole. But it's definitely less intense as far as the dungeon level they're on and such. And it's all about racing and such. And I think the author did a really good job making it engaging with the different heats and making them different and such. But yeah, I still Carl and Princess Donut. Absolutely love those characters. We're learning more about what's kind of going on outside the dungeon, and we're learning more about the AI. So enjoying that aspect of it as well. My husband absolutely loves this. I will say, even though it's only been a little while since we finished the seventh book, I definitely found myself like not remembering everything. So now that we're all caught up and we're not going to be able to binge read them, we did end up getting the audiobooks for these. And so I think once we know when the next book is coming out, my husband and I are going to do a reread listening to the audiobooks. And that way it will be fresh in our mind once that ninth book comes out. But absolutely 5 stars as always. Had a great time with that, and I know my husband loves those as well. And then the book I started was Theo of Golden by Alan Levi. I found this because Becca at Becca Books and Bujo did a reading her children's name blog, and one of her children is Theo. And I just thought this sounded right up my alley. So this is about Theo, who's an 86-year-old man, and he goes to this town of Golden. He's there for a year, and there's a coffee shop there. This local artist has been doing portraits of the townfolk, and they hangs them up to be sold at this coffee shop. And Theo decides he's going to buy up these portraits and gift them to the people who they're of. And there's something mysterious about Theo himself. Like, you don't know why he's there, and you don't know really what he does. There's kind of a mystery around Theo. And, like, of course, the town wants to know about him, and he's just kind of cagey. And so, yeah, I'm enjoying this. I'm about, like I said, a third of the way through right now, and really, really loving this. I will say, though, like, there is something from Theo's past that was kind of heavy, and some of the other people he's talking to a little bit more heavy topics. And there's kind of this like tint of rose-colored glasses or optimism around that grief and that trauma and such. And that kind of I'm not enjoying so far, but I'll see where the story goes. Right now, I'm leaning more towards a 4 star, but we'll just have to see where this goes. This is very slow paced because I thought about just trying to read it quickly over this weekend, but it really lends itself to reading a little bit at a time. So I'm going to continue to do that. So this will roll over and I will continue to read that. It's perfect for at bedtime because it really kind of just puts me in a relaxed mood. And then I'm ready for bed after I read, you know, 30 to 50 pages. And so I'm looking forward to continuing on with that. I did, of course, want to try to get to Big Girl Blitz. I talked about this by Danielle Allen. This is the third book in that series. I don't know what the series is called, but this actually works for Readathon, so I'm not upset that I didn't get to that because it will work for Readathon. And then as far as this series, so I wanted to reread A Study in Drowning, and then I had found an archive of romance, which is like a companion to the series, at the when we went grocery shopping and found it at the store. And then I learned that there was a second book following A Study in Drowning, which is A Theory of Dreaming, so I picked that up as well. This is actually better suited probably for autumn anyway, so I'm not upset that I didn't get to these. These will go back on my shelves for now, and I'll hopefully get to them in autumn. So yeah, that's the other set that I had that I potentially wanted to get to. As far as Kim's game, so I do have the 3 prompts, and the first one was, let me get my notes here. So the first one was to read a book under 200 pages. And for that, I'm going to go with The Invisible Man by H.G. Wells. I did have to add this on for Readathon because I was trying to get bonus points, and so I needed a 3-word title, and this is 172 pages. So I'll talk more about that one when I get to the Readathon one. And then we got a group prompt, and so we're having to read books by the hundreds, and so one person needs to read a book under 100 pages, the next 100 to 199, then 200 to 299, so on and so forth. At least 10 people need to do that, so one person's going to have to read like a 900 to 999 book. Fortunately, like right off the bat, my team in the Discord was like, oh, I have the higher number books. People had options for that. And I think a couple people said they had the less than 100 and then the 100-page range. And I figured the 300-page range is probably the easiest. And so I said I would fulfill the 200-page mark. This is another book I had to add for Readathon, and so that's The Wild Robot by Peter Brown. This is 269 pages. This is going to be one of the first books I pick up this month. So there's that, and then the last prompt was to read a book and then watch a movie. This one's not on my Readathon spread, but I did have it for my TBR game for June. And so I'm going to be reading Alice's Adventures in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll. I'll also read through The Looking Glass because both of those books are in here, but only the first one's going to count for my game and for Kim's game. So I'll read that, and then I'll probably watch the original Disney movie, not the live action version, but we'll have to see what I'm feeling. So that will work for that, and that's also less than 100 or 200 pages, so that's nice as well. So that's it for Kim's game. Now let's talk about the Readathon. So again, I'm on Team Swords, which I'm so excited. I decided, so I'm not good at going, like I'm a planner. I like to know what's coming. So I went ahead, I looked at what I had on my TBR, and so I went ahead and did 4 3-card spreads. With the 3-card spreads, each team has a different spread. And so basically, you have to do it in order. So I pulled the cards and put them on the spread in order. And so for the first card, position 1, you can either choose a book that matches the prompt of the card or whose page number ends in this card number. So for example, if you have like the 9 of Swords, you would find something that ends in 9. If it's like one of the like the Magician, they put numbers next to it on their prompt list. So there's that. The second spot is a card swap. So you could either, again, choose a book that matches the card, or you can go plus or minus on either side. So like, again, the 9 of Swords, I could either go with the 8 of Swords or the 10 of Swords. And same thing in the order that they have the face card, or the face cards, the major arcana and such, they put them in order, so you could go plus or minus that. And then the third spot, you just get double points. And for my Team Swords, you get double points if the title matches the prompt and also has 3 words in the title, exactly 3 words. So that's why I had to add extra. is because of that. So there's that. We also, each week, they pull a card for your team, and then you can get extra points if you read a book that matches your team's card for that week. And that's the only place you can double up. So, like, for instance, our card that got pulled for this first week is The Lovers to read a book with romance. And so I can read one of my books that I pulled for one of my cards. If it also has a romance in it, I can put it for that. So that works really well. I believe you also get extra points. I could be mistaken, but I do believe, or like, if you pull a tarot card for yourself each day, I believe you get extra points. And so I did pull one for today. I don't know if I'll do it every day, but today I got the Ace of Wands, which is this beautiful card here, and it's the magic paintbrush, which is a Chinese folk tale, and it represents inspiration, a sudden creative force. The magic paintbrush embodies these qualities with passion and daring, the magical moment right before the ink hits the paper and all dreams and possibilities are within reach. Upright, it means excitement, creativity, a spark, growth, new beginnings. And I think that's perfect for the first of the month, especially because that's when I do my reading journal and such. I'm wrapping up the previous month and I'm getting ready for the next month. So this card actually really works well for that. So I absolutely love that. And I don't think I shared. I have the Tarot of the Divine, which is by Yoshi Yoshitani. There's a little book that comes with it and everything. I found this because I used to follow, well, I still follow her, but she doesn't post anymore. It's Bells, and she had a TBR game where she used this deck, and she would talk about like go in depth of the inspiration for the cards, like the behind the cards, like I'm having trouble with my words today, but the inspiration for the cards, like what the card's about and the lore of it all and such. So I really love this deck. And I think, like I said, the ace, that's perfect for the Ace of Wands, did I say? Yeah, Ace of Wands is perfect for the beginning of a new month. So there's that. And let's go ahead and get into my pulls. So I did do, like I said, 4 3-card spreads, and then I pulled an extra prompt just to make it an even number 13, because 13 is a lucky number for me. I debated. I know most people are pulling the cards and then keeping them out so they don't get repeat prompts. But to me, if the same card comes up multiple times, like, that has meaning, right? So I decided to put the cards back in, and I did get. There's one card which is actually the first card I pulled, which I already had out from the last time I played. It was already out, and then it showed up in the first 2 spreads. The first time in the number 1 spot, the second time in the number 2 spot, and then I had one other card that showed up twice. But the first card that showed up, and like I said, this card was already out, is the Nine of Swords, which has to do. This is Oedipus, and it has to do with a lot with like anxiety and such, which, if you know me, I have a lot of anxiety, and so I thought that was kind of funny. It showed up. It was already out initially, and then it showed up for the first 2 spreads that I did, which I found interesting. So the Nine of Swords is either a book with mental health rep, or, because it was part of the 3-card spread, it was in position 1, it could end in a number 9. I went with the mental health rep. And so for this one, I'm going to be reading Paladin's Grace by T. Kingfisher. This is the book 2 in the Saint of Steel series. I read book 1, absolutely love it. And these paladins have lost their god. And I know in book 1 definitely dealt a lot with mental health rep in regards to that. And I think this is going to be the same. So this one we're following, he's a paladin of a dead god, tracking a supernatural killer across a continent. She's a nun from a secretive order on the trail of the raiders who burned her convent and kidnapped her sisters. When their paths cross at the point of a sword, Istvan and Clara will be pitched headlong into each other's quest, facing off against enemies, both living and dead. But Clara has a secret that could jeopardize the growing trust between them, a secret that will lead them to the gladiatorial pits of a corrupt city and beyond. This does have romance, so I'm planning on using this for our weekly group prompt. So I will do that. I also have other options here as well, but one other option, but this is the one I'm planning on using for that. So I'm very excited to read that because I absolutely love T. Kingfisher's writing. I really enjoyed the first one. Then let's see here. We got Judgment, which, and I didn't look up the meanings of all of these, but we got Judgment, which is this one, and I think it's, again, a stunning card. And so for this one, it's either previously DNF or currently reading a long time, which I don't have. I've had books in the past where I've been currently reading a long time, but in this case, I don't have any currently, and I didn't want to read a previously DNF book. Generally, if I DNF them, I also unhaul them. And so, because it was the second spot, I could do plus or minus. And so, let's see here. I didn't write down. Sorry. Let me get my little paper so I can tell you what I wrote down the prompts. So I think minus is The Sun, which is a fun or joyful book. And plus was, let's see here, so that was Judgment. The plus was The World, read a book you've seen all over Bookstagram, BookTube, or BookTok. And so for that one, I'm going to do the plus. So I'm going to do The World. And that's The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins. The whole Hunger Games series is always talked about on BookTube and BookTok and Bookstagram. The most recent one, of course, is the Sunrise on the Reaping, but I still see this one pop up as well, along with the original trilogy. So this is going to be what I'm reading for that. That's also going to be one of the books I want to read this first week. So there is that. And then I did get The Sun as well. And so, again, the prompt for that is a fun or joyful book. And since it was the third spot, if it has a 3-word title, then I get double the points. And so this one is where I grabbed The Wild Robot by Peter Brown. I did watch this movie. I adored it. It's about this robot and she's lost in the wild. And so when Robot Roz opens her eyes for the first time, she discovers that she is alone on a remote wild island. She has no idea how she got there or what her purpose is, but she knows she needs to survive. After battling a fierce storm and escaping a vicious bear attack, she realizes that her only hope for survival is to adapt to her surroundings and learn from the island's unwelcoming animal inhabitants. As Rod slowly befriends the animals, the island starts to feel like home until one day the robot's mysterious past comes back to haunt her. And I just remember the movie being so heartwarming, and I think this definitely fits that prompt. Again, that's probably going to be because it works for Kim's game as well. One of the first books I picked up. And so I also going to read Alice Adventures in Wonderland this first week is my plan as well. And then I have one other book that I'll get to in a little bit that I also want to read this first week in the month. So we'll get to that in a bit though. Then my second 3-card spread. First up, I got The Hermit. I love this card too. I think all these cards are just stunning. But I got The Hermit, which is to a book set in a remote location, or this is the number 9 spot. So again, ends in the number 9. There's that option there. And for this one, I'm going to be doing Dead Voices by Katherine Arden. This is book 2 of the Small Spaces Quartet. Read Small Spaces for my family book club. Loved it. It's middle grade horror. This is actually also, I did do my 3rd round of Roll for Reading And so I've done the rolls and got everything picked out. And I needed middle grade horror, so this book is for that as well. And yeah, really looking forward to this one. So in this one, you're following Ollie, Coco, and Brian again, which are the trio from the first one. And it's a winter break, and they're relaxing with their parents at Mount Hemlock. And when a snowstorm sets in, it causes a power outage, and the cold creeps closer and closer. The trio begin to see and hear chilling, spooky things. Their fun-filled trip is quickly turning into another terrifying encounter with another dimension. And when a mysterious ghost hunter conveniently arrives in the midst of the storm offering his services, Ollie's watch, which saved them from the smiling man before, has a new cautionary message: beware. So, trapped in a isolated cabin in the snowstorm. So that will work for that. This one I'm planning on reading the second week. So there is that. And Kim's game also, everything needs to be read by the 20th. We have a short amount of time, just because everybody's schedules the way it worked out. So we actually only have 3 weeks this time. So I definitely want to get all of those books read in the first 2 weeks if possible. Then we got the Nine of Swords again, but again, this is the second spot. So I could either do this prompt or plus or minus on either side. So the Eight of Swords or the Ten of Swords. And so for this one, again, book with mental health rep. The Eight of Swords is a book that intimidates you. And the Nine of Swords is a book with death in the synopsis. So I'm going to go with, or the Ten of Swords, sorry, plus. Ten of Swords, a book with death in the synopsis, which is what I'm going to go with. And this is another one I want to read the second week of the month. And that is Kingdom of the Curse by Kerri Maniscalco. This is the second book in this series. And it says, on a mission to avenge her beloved sister Amelia, has traveled to the seven circles and sold her soul. But the first rule in the court of the wicked: trust no one, because the longer Amelia resides in hell, the seductive world of vice, the clearer it becomes that nothing is what it seems. Even Wrath, her one-time ally, may be keeping secrets about his true nature. And soon Amelia finds herself trapped between Wrath and his even more wicked brother. Faced with backstabbing courtiers, luxurious palaces, dazzling galas, and conflicting clues about what truly happened to her sisters, Amelia finds herself on a mission to unlock the mysteries of her own past and uncover the answers she craves, as long as her sins don't catch up to her first. Now, the one in the synopsis on Goodreads does mention the death of her sister, so it's not on this synopsis, but it was on the Goodreads one, so I'm counting that. So yeah, I'm excited to continue on with that series. I absolutely love the first one, and it'll be fun to see where it goes from here. So then let's see, we got for the third spot, we got the Eight of Swords. And so again, it needs to be the prompt for this and then a 3-word title. And for this one, it's a book that intimidates you. So I get double points if I do the 3-word title, which I did in fact find one. And that is The Invisible Man by H.G. Wells. And you might be saying, well, why is it intimidating? It's such a short book. I read The Island of Dr. Moreau and absolutely loved it. Then in April for Aurelium, I read The Time Machine by H.G. Wells, and that's also less than 200 pages, and I struggled. Like, it took me so long to get through, and I really struggled with it. And so that's why I'm now intimidated by this one, even though it's a short book. Like, because of my experience with The Time Machine, I'm a little bit intimidated by this one. So a stranger emerges out of a freezing February day with a request for lodging in a cozy provincial inn. Who is this out-of-season traveler? More confounding is the thick mask of bandages obscuring his face. Why is he disguised in such a manner? What keeps him hidden in his room? The villagers, aroused by trepidation and curiosity, bring it upon themselves to find the answers. So we'll see how this one goes. I'm hoping I enjoy it like I did The Island of Dr. Moreau, but I'm very hesitant because I don't know how it's going to go. So there's that one. And then my third 3-card spread, I first got The Lovers. So again, a book featuring romance, or this was a 6th spot, so it could end in the number 6. I'm doing the romance aspect, and I'm going to be reading The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern, because you have Celia and Marco, who have been trained since childhood expressly for the purpose like this competition. Um, but amidst the high stakes, Celia and Marco soon tumble headfirst into love, sending off a domino effect of dangerous consequences and leaving the lives of everyone from the performers to the patrons hanging in the balance. And so obviously there's that romance aspect there. I'm planning on reading that the second week of the month as well. And then the other book that's not part of, wasn't able to make it work for anything for Tarot Readathon, but it's my family book club book, so I want to read it the second week as well, is Small Favors by Erin A. Craig. So that one's on the docket. So I'm trying to read 5 books each week, and we'll just have to see how it goes. Then let's see here. We got the Knight of Cups. Again, absolutely stunning. And this one is the second spot. So I could either read a book with a character that goes through emotional turmoil. Minus is, let's see here, I'll tell you. This is Knight of Cups. So either a whimsical or dreamy book, which is the Page or the Queen. Read a book that will move you / make you emotional. And so I'm actually going to go for the original prompt for this. So a book where the character goes through emotional turmoil. And this one is one of the ones I'm planning on reading with my husband. And so we're going to start that this first week. And that's The Final Target by Nora Roberts. This is her newest release. I'm my favorite author. I have all her books, and so my husband reads these with me as they come out. And so in this one, we're following an author, and this guy shows up at her signing, and he continues to show up at like all her signings. She decides to finally go to coffee with him one time, and it takes a sinister turn, and he like starts stalking her and such, and it becomes dangerous. And so obviously that's very emotional, and she has to kind of escape and lay low for a while. And so that's the emotional turmoil she goes through, is having a stalker, and being in a dangerous situation. So there's that one. My husband and I are going to read that. I probably won't finish it this first week, but over this first 2 weeks, I want to read that one. Then let's see here. Then we got The Sun again. And so this was for the 3rd spot. So it needed to be, again, this 3rd spot. So a 3-word title that's a fun or joyful book. And for this one is one that I've wanted to read for a long time. I thrift a lot of my books, so it's been on my like card to try to find for a long time, and I've never actually found it in the wild till recently. And that's The Princess Bride by William Goldman. Of course, you have Princess Buttercup and Wesley, and I love the movie. It's definitely very fun, and I'm really looking forward. I've heard the book is different from the movie, but I'm really looking forward to this. And so I've been wanting to get it since I picked it up. I've been wanting to get it on a TBR. And so this is the perfect opportunity. So I'm really looking forward to that. That one I'm planning on reading in the 3rd week of the month. Then for my 4th 3-card spread, I first got the 4 of Coins. Then we have that one. And this one is a book with rich people drama, or has wealthy character, or ends in a 4, because it's the first slot there. And so I'm going kind of with the rich people drama part. And I'm going to be reading, this is another one, it's not on my game TBR, but recently hauled it, and I really want to get to it sooner rather than later, since everybody's talking about it right now. And that's Yesteryear by Caro Claire Burke. And I'm so excited to get to this one. And she's, presents herself as a trad wife, which is a traditional wife, a wife that follows the traditional, expectations of a housewife. But it's all for show, and really she has like nannies and such behind the scenes. And then she ends up going back in time to when the, that's what was expected of a wife, and she actually has to do it. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what the deal is with that one. So that's going to be the third week as well. Then we got the Wheel of Fortune. Love this card as well, which is actually a mood read, which is nice. Again, since this is the second spot, you can swap it. And so Minus is the Hermit. So read a book set in a remote location. But we already obviously have that. And the plus is Justice, to read a book by a BIPOC, queer, or disabled author. So that's the one I'm going for. And that's where Big Girl Blitz comes in. And so again, you have a BIPOC author. I know there is like mental health rep in there, which doesn't matter for this prompt, but she's going through something with her aunt. So that's in here, and I'm really looking forward. Jasmine's my favorite of the three women in these books. And so, yeah, Jasmine Payne fled her hometown and the fat phobes who made her life hell the minute she graduated high school. Growing up, her haven was her Aunt Addison, and when her health takes a drastic turn, she insists that Jazz should spice up her life. Emphasis on spice, but dating is the last thing Jazz has on her mind until Lamar Anderson sits next to her at the local sports bar. He's sexy, fun, and refreshingly drama free. With him, she's able to pretend that everything is all right. But as real life intrudes, Jazz has to decide if she can leave the past where it belongs for a love that she deserves. And so there might be a little bit of disability with her aunt's health, but we'll just have to see how prevalent that is in this one. But I love the first two books. The first two books is Plus Size Player and Curvy Girl Summer, and I really loved both of those. And so looking forward to this third one. And so that again, that will be the third week where I'm trying to get to that. Some of these might get pushed off, just depends on how my reading goes. And then I got the Nine of Wands for that third spot. And so this one is a book with survival elements. And again, but double points if it's a 3-word title. And I actually already had a book on there for this. And so I'm going to be reading Operation Bounce House by Matt Dinniman. This is not part of the Dungeon Crawler Caro world. This is a standalone that he came out at the beginning of May. And I was kind of on the fence, but I just love, because I love Carl and Princess Donut so much. And I'm like, am I going to love it as much? But I talked to my husband, and we do want to give it a try. And so you have all colonists Oliver Lewis ever wanted to do was run the family ranch with his sister, maybe play a gig or two with his band, and keep his family's aging fleet of intelligent agriculture bots ticking as long as possible. Figures it will be a good thing when the transfer gate finally opens all the way and restores instant travel and full communication between Earth and his planet New Sonora. But there's a complication. Even though the settlers were promised they'd be left in peace, Earth's government now has other plans. The colossal Apex Industries is hired to commence an eviction action, but maximizing profits will always be Apex number one priority. Why spend money printing and deploying AI soldiers when they can turn it into a game? Why not charge bored Earthers for the opportunity to design their own war machines and remotely pilot them from the comfort of their homes? The game is called Operation Bounce House. Oliver and his friends soon find themselves fighting for their lives against machines piloted by gamers who paid a premium for the privilege. With the help of an old book from his grandfather and a bucket of rusty parts, Oliver is determined to defend the only home he has ever known. So my plan is read the Nora Roberts book with my husband the first part of the month, and then read this one the second part of the month with him. And I'm looking forward to giving it a try, and hopefully I love it as much as I do Carl, but we'll just have to see. And then let's see here. So that was it for my 3-card spreads. And then I did do an extra bonus draw, which is just the prompt. And so I drew the King of Swords, which I love that I got another sword since that's my team. And this is a book with scientific elements. And so for this one, I am going to be reading The Last Murder at the End of the World by Stuart Turton. I've read The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle, I believe is what it's called, and The Devil in the Dark Water by this author, and absolutely loved them. And so I came across this again. Can't remember if it was a thrift store or a little free library, but either way, came across it. I was like, yes, I definitely want that because I've enjoyed the other 2 books by this author, and definitely has scientific elements. So it says, outside the island, there is nothing. The world was destroyed by a fog that swept the planet, killing anyone it touched. On the island is idyllic. 122 villagers and 3 scientists is found living in peaceful harmony. The villagers are content to fish, farm, and feast, to obey their nightly curfew, to do what they're told by the scientists. Until, to the horror of the islanders, one of their beloved scientists is found brutally stabbed to death, and then they learn that the murder has triggered a lowering of the security system around the island, the only thing that was keeping the fog at bay. The murder isn't solved within 107 hours. The fog will smother the island and everyone in it. But the security system has also wiped everyone's memories of exactly what happened the night before, which means that someone on the island is a murderer and they don't even know it. So obviously it has the 3 scientists, that's the scientific element. So that's going to be for my extra poll, and I'm hoping to get to all of those in the 3rd week, and then the last week will be anything that spills over. And then I do have one other book from my game that didn't make it on, and that's A Winter's Promise by Christelle Davos. So this one will definitely be the lowest priority and will hopefully get read in that 4th week. But yeah, so I had to add on 3, and there was 3 books that didn't work for it. But 2 of which are priorities because they work for Kim's game and then my family book club, and then just the one that's just for my game TBR, which obviously I want to get read as well, so I can earn a reward. So those were my tarot pulls, and obviously I'm just gonna do what I can. I'm gonna try not to take it too seriously and just have fun with it. But all these books I'm really excited about, and since there's kind of a good mix between a little bit denser books and then children's and fast-paced books, I think it's gonna go well. But we'll have to see how I do. I've read this many books for Aurelium. For Aurelium, I think I read 18 because I had 17 for my callings, plus Paladin's Grace, which is the first book of that series, was for my Archivist Guild read. So I can definitely do it, but we'll just have to see. I wasn't prepared to participate in a readathon in June, but I'm very excited to be part of Team Swords with awesome co-hosts leading us, and I can't wait to see what I accomplish. And like I said, 2 of the books I'm reading with my husband, so those will kind of be spread out. And then obviously I do need to finish Theo of Goldman, but this one I'll just be reading at night. This first week's going to be a little bit tougher as well because like today is my computer day where I spend a lot of time on the computer. And then because it is the beginning of the month, I work on my reading journal. So we'll just have to see. I'll probably get off to a slow start, but then I'm hoping I can take off. I would love to know if you've read any of these books, if you're interested in any of these books. If you're part of the Tarot Readathon, let me know what team you're on down below. If you just want to let me know you're here and you're helping to support the channel, you can always leave a rabbit or any type of animal emoji. And I'm going to go ahead and leave you guys here. Happy reading, everyone. Bye.